Welcome to Female Frequency Podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Jody Nelson, curator, artist, mentor, divine channel, and host of Female Frequency. I am here to bring you unbound forms of ecofeminism, reclaiming art, spirituality, and feminine power to revive the earth. Each week, Female Frequency brings you intimate conversations with trailblazers and amazing stories to ignite change. You'll find inspiring alternatives to the patriarchy, discover creative paths, courage, connection, and magic. Hear from the heroes who activate and restore the divine feminine for our earth. Each episode serves as a catalyst, offering wisdom along with practical steps to empower you to make a positive impact on the planet. Whether you're an artist, empath, or eco-warrior, there's a story here to invite awe and help you embody what I call the female frequency. Hello, frequency friends. This episode takes you behind the scenes with a very thoughtful artist, a powerful activist, and a Guggenheim Fellowship winner, Betsy Damon. Water isn't just a medium for Betsy, it's a teacher and inspiration. In Betsy's own words, water is creation. Water, the verb, became my teacher. Now, what I found so special about this episode is that we talk about the stories behind her activism and her art that often serves as political discourse that placed women's agency as the focal point in the narrative. Yes, can we say main character energy? She tells us what was going on in her life as her pioneering projects started to take form. Stories like driving across Canada with her friends, and then suddenly the car screeches to a halt. So yeah, you'll hear what happens next inside. Now, Betsy taught the very first feminist art studio program at Cornell. So for those teachers and instructors listening, I think she'd be a great addition to your program. I want to tell you a little bit more about her career. Her early performances address the erasure of women's narratives from history. We can see that in her work titled Blind Beggar Woman, which she performed on Wall Street in New York. Some of her work spoke to gender-based violence, as we see in the work titled 7,000-Year-Old Woman. Other performances were titled Rape Memory, another one titled What Do You Think About Knives? Her art as healing rituals purposefully included the environment, as we can see in her work titled A Shrine for Every Woman, where Betsy performed at the United Nations World Conference on Women in Nairobi. Other work titled Meditations with Stones for the Survival of the Planet, where she performed in front of the American Museum of Natural History in New York. In 1984, we can see where she devoted her practice in more public space projects, focusing on empowering communities to know, restore, and preserve their waters, as we can see in the work titled The Living Water Garden in China. We can see her projects similar to this in Carnation, Washington, Memphis, Tennessee, and so many more. Betsy uses the feminine principles of collaboration and creativity and following her intuition. So I am so excited for you to join us on this episode of the Female Frequency Podcast as we dive into Betsy's journey from writing museum grants to challenging river damming to moments where she calls me back in, and some might say she's calling me out. Hello, sister. Betsy, I am so delighted to meet you in person. I've been researching your work. I discovered you, I'm going to really say publicly in 2020, but I hope it was before then. But just, and then just getting to know you. And then through Weed, I saw one of your interviews with Mary White and was just remembered again that I've just got to meet you. I love your ecofeminist practice. And as I read things about you and what you've been doing, I say, yes, I say sensational. And I'm just so delighted that we get to talk today because there is some sort of law of attraction that I want to learn more about what you have been doing and I can help carry the torch for you, I'm here for it.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. When I read your Pulse statement that you sent me, I want to just recap here a sentence that you wrote. Water, the verb, became my teacher. As an artist, my work to reveal water's true nature as a verb continued. Water is creation. And this is where I wanted to vibe with you for a second, because I've said for years that I have river love. And some people are like, oh, you're in love with the river. And I just keep saying, no, I have river love. Back in 99, I was in Nepal and I was curating photography to raise awareness for river conservation. And while I was there, I just had river love. And I can see now, working and researching your practice, that I get it. I get something more. I understand myself better.
You got it. Yeah. Well, there's an ancient, one of the oldest texts ever written in China. They're talking about what the way is, right? And it comes to love, and they say there is no way of love. Water is love. And I just shared that at a conference. It was on Zoom, and the man who was heading the whole thing he just took off on it, because ultimately this conference is how are they going to evolve Naples and design it to have good water system. It had one, 1,200 years ago, but so I won't go into all that, but he just went up and he said, so anything we do, whatever we do, has to give life to everything.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't do that, it's not the right choice. It's not the right way. And it was so great. I was so happy.
Yeah, I'm even taking notes right now of just things, water is creation. Like you have said, I just love it. And there was a moment, I was reading about your aha moment of when you just had to continue with water in your life. And I can't wait to hear it directly from you. But you were making paper?
Yeah, I was learning how to do paper with Coco Gordon.
Where was this?
It was out on Long Island. I mean, she lived in Manhattan, but she had a studio on Long Island. And then I got to know these paper makers at a conference in Canada, but because they were all her friends, I just happened to be tagging along. Okay. But anyway, yeah. And making paper is really fun, and it's also kind of clean thing to do.
Yeah.
But I had decided after noticing all the rivers were dry around the United States, and I said, what happened? Well, damming happened. And so I was like, wow, people really need to know this in cities because they don't know it. So I was like, okay, I have to bring a river into a museum or something. Like, it's how our minds work are just kind of crazy. But then I was talking to these people in a car ride across Canada. Like, we're going like 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I said, what would you do if you could do anything you wanted and you had money and support? And they told me, and then they asked me what I'd do. And I said, well, I won't be able to do it. I'd make this cast of a riverbed and to go down the Guggenheim or something, right?
Yeah.
And they screeched to a stop, pulled over the side of the road and turned around and said, well, we'll help you. And they were the most famous paper makers there are. Helmut Becker was one. He's in Canada. They're all gone already.
I see.
So, yeah.
And what year was this drive?
What year was it? Well, I cast the riverbed in 85. It must have been 83 or 82. It's probably in Water Talks.
Yeah, I didn't share this with you yet, but I love paper making. Paper making was how I was like going to go see the world. I mean, I had a trip planned through Thailand and India because I was going to go make paper.
Yeah, and they all do it great.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Let's just take it back for a minute and just paint the picture a little bit brighter. So you were making paper and you had this correlation between sky and the earth.
Well, yeah, I was like, I got the grant. I got a $12,000 museum grant to do the piece. And I had the team, and we would be on the riverbed all day, like from, as soon as we could get there from where we were staying, which was great. No one was in Castle Valley at that time. And there was a developer who'd built houses on spec. So he gave us one of his houses just to camp out in, have the kitchen to use, the toilets. And, we bought sleeping mats and pots and pans. And at the end of the day, and this was a very long day, it was really going well. And, the sky's turning indigo and the aspens are yellow and the mesa's red and the Milky Way started to appear. And I just looked up and I was like, and I'd been on the riverbed like feet above it for 10 hours. And I was just like, oh, it looks just like the riverbed.
Oh.
So it just came to me. And I went, oh, everything's patterned on water and I don't know anything at all. Actually, but I don't know shit.
Oh, and there the path lies in the mirror.
Yeah, like the Milky Way was just like, mirroring this riverbed of stones.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, I could say I'm not going to go off in that direction. And the truth is we are all connected way out there somewhere,
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. So that's very interesting. The papermaker said that they were going to help you, and then you had to go for it and go get a grant. So that takes a lot of time. How long were you already in the rhythm of looking at and applying for grants, or was?
Not particularly.
Oh,
I mean, somebody knew my work enough that she said she took a chance on me, like to give me one of the new Massachusetts New Works grants.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way my career goes forward.
Is when someone's taking a chance on you?
Or when someone knows me.
Okay. Yes. When someone knows you.
This was a show at the Danforth where, Mary Miss was in it. I was in it. I can't remember who else. But there were people who'd done much more significant work than I had.
Uh-huh.
And were more concrete. I tend to not be concrete. I tend to want things. I tend to do things that they exist and then they disappear.
Site-specific, but ephemeral?
Yeah, or my performances or anything. It's ephemeral. I still feel this way. The world has enough stuff in it.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. As someone who has purged her life many a times, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to fill it up with, a tanka or a stupa.
Yep.
Or certain images. And it's another thing just to fill it up with what we think is meaningful to us, might not be anybody else.
Wow. Well, your work is really making meaningful of our human connection with the earth. And pardon?
I try. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so admirable. I mean, because you're really using those feminine principles of collaboration, because you're talking to a lot of people to make things happen.
That too.
Yeah.
I'll say this to you. I don't care for categories. I don't care to be called a feminist ecology person. That's a very new word made up for people like, this, us, whatever. And I do think women have, because we can bear children, because we bear life, we have a very deep connection to that, to a kind of survival. And I think men have a legitimate one. It's just different.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoy working with guys. What I just don't think is okay is how patriarchy will celebrate what men do and it won't honor what women do, which forces me into being a feminist ecologist instead of a people's or an earth's ecologist.
Right.
So
right.
I'm for all the systems. And I don't think half of the human race is superior to the other half. But I do think patriarchy is extremely destructive.
Extremely destructive, yeah. And I just think more of the eco-feminist approaches are just a little more collaborative and trying to be equitable.
If a guy had done what I've done, he would be showered with money and recognition. And I'm not. I'm not. In fact, I'm really hurting economically. You know, I would be asked to design all kinds of things, which I was in China, but I worked on the Chinese economy. You know, I didn't work with it from it being sponsored by an American company or anything. I had a Chinese salary. And
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I did the Moving Water Garden without a contract. And because it would never have happened. And they gave me everything they could give me for free. And I went home $20,000 in debt.
Because you had to do the project, or you had to fulfill your...
Well, it's a complicated story, okay? The Chinese will never work with a foreigner like that, ever.
Yeah.
Period. And it's a very complicated story. In our time, it would take you 2 hours or something. But, you know, I had an office. They gave me an office. They gave me a place to stay and all kinds of things. But, you know, I still had bills.
Right.
At home. My son worked for me. He had bills. He was fluent in Chinese. So, you know, and there were people in this office. They were Chinese. Some of them volunteered. Some of them needed a little money. But all in all, over a 2-year period, and how to, you know, really take care of myself, even though I was given all these things.
Right.
They did everything they could within their structures and even more. So, but just the fact that somebody in government who was so high up in government that he was in charge of the entire 5-year plan for the city took this project under his, as one of his projects, was a complete danger to him, an absolute danger to him. And he could never be seen with me. I had conferences with him. We're very close now, but I'd say 2/3 of his office never even looked at me and smiled. I mean, it's a complete danger.
It is, yeah.
I'm in China now. I worked in the Beijing Bureau of Hydraulic Engineering and Research. The premier of China visited the Living Water Garden and said it was the best thing that happened in the country that year. Now, within all that, lots of people came to visit. I never met any of them.
Okay.
Not one mayor, not one governor. No, because you weren't supposed to work with a foreigner ever like that.
Yeah. When I totally understand. When I went to China, I was in my 20s. I was awarded a grant and a travel grant. And there I went in my 20s, solo mission. And so tell us a little bit more about the park. So were you helping clean up and rehabilitate an area? Or what were you doing with this one?
I went to do, I got a grant on an anonymous phone call. I don't have time to go through all this. It's also all in my book. All right. Yeah. Read my book, please.
Absolutely.
You can't imagine how many people ask me the same questions over and over again.
Oh, I know. And I'm trying to just get it right from you. I'm sorry.
Well, okay. That doesn't make the biggest difference.
Okay.
All right. my book to teach. People have used it now to start their own community projects.
Awesome.
And, okay, so I can't talk to all of them right from me. I can't do that. You don't do that to people. It's important for people to understand that, especially since I don't have a big megaphone or anything. Like, do you have to talk to Jane Goodall personally to get her message? I worked for her for 3 years. No, she can't, she gives
everywhere.
lectures.
Yeah. Yeah.
She school children. You don't get to talk to her privately.
Right.
Unless you're going to become a fundraiser for JGI, Jane Goodall Institute, which is worldwide. I'm sorry if I'm being obnoxious. But so what was I trying to say?
Well, I was just getting just a little bit more insight into the park in China.
It's a 7-stage water cleaning system designed by a hydraulic engineer.
Yeah.
All right. Now, they gave me the team members. They asked me, who do you need to work with? And I told them. He was the best. He was the only one in all of China. It's not an accident. And then I had to use their landscape design company, who was not good at all, who was terrible, who opposed the park at every possible moment. So I wouldn't have chosen him. I brought Margie Ruddick for 3 or 4 weeks there to help get started because she's a landscape designer. And I knew I'm not one, but it turns out nothing's rocket science there. I just didn't have the confidence. And she did do some of the sizing of where the 7 elements would go. I asked the hydraulic engineer, what are the 7? It's not when I know the science, I can do the design.
Okay.
So if you want to be really into, as an eco artist, it's not important whatever science you want to work with, or if you think you want to work with science, just learn it. You got to know it. And I will say honestly that people who paint water will claim that they're eco artists. Painting the surface of water is not even action. It's a kind of action, but it's different.
It's just different.
And I don't really know what to do about that, because everybody who paints water thinks, oh, now I'm an activist. Well, maybe you are. Are you involved in the water systems of your county or your community or even your home? Do you know where they come from? Do you know about your wastewater treatment plant? Are you engaged with any of the real things that water does in creating life? Or are you painting a pretty watercolor of your pond or the ocean? And Americans are really used to the one-liner advertisement. And we don't know the difference between that and action. We really don't. I mean, my mind can get confused there too.
Yeah.
Oh, I discovered a great one-liner. A one-liner is not an action.
No.
Right? It's not an action. It is water is life when the indigenous people were protesting the pipelines and everything. That water is life is what that described their action.
Mm-hmm.
That was their action. That is their action. That's taking the notion that water is like to its deepest reality. Yeah, and anyway, it's another lecture. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I do love it.
We're born in the same, what you say, pod or something. I might be your grandmother. I don't know. Your mother.
No, you could be my new art mom, though.
No, I mean, I think people come here and we're all from certain groups, bunches, and those bunches are thousands of people.
Yeah.
We end up working with and talking with them.
Yeah, it is. It is an interesting law of attraction that I just I'm so curious about, how come there are some of us that are that much attracted to the water?
Well, everyone is.
Or something.
No, we're water. Every human being is.
We're
yes.
Water. Yes.
That you actually understood that the river was teaching you is really unique. That is so unique.
Mm.
But actually, the water is teaching all of us. So, but very don't know that.
Oh, well, I'll take that one. Put that more out there and teach more about it now, especially where I am in my career. Yeah.
But that will help all kinds of people, like hundreds of people. You won't even imagine how many people will either intuitively or something just go, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Because I didn't really understand it when I said it, and I was like, this is what I feel, and I'll have to figure out all the rest later. But I'm not gonna rearrange my words on that because it's how I feel. And speaking of intuition, do you have signposts in your body, or how do you just know? How do you keep going? How do you keep following your intuition?
That's all I do. I can't do anything else. So that's, but even when I was going to go to China, 99% of everyone told me don't go.
Yeah.
So, but I went anyway. I went without permission or the tourist visa. Again, that's all in my book.
Yeah.
Recently, I've been taking people to listen to rivers or listen to their water and just sit there for an hour. And then they understand, because the water will talk to you.
Yes.
It will tell you exactly what to do. Exactly. But the biggest message that I keep getting from the water, whether it's the East River, which is it's very polluted, you can't swim in it or anything, was, hey, I'm fine. I've been here 11 million years. Y'all get to work. Take care of yourself, okay? Because your actions are, impact my life.
I love it. I love it how you gave it a little bit of a Southern lilt, too.
Well, someone down in Virginia was online with us. And I have this wonderful person I love working with her, Nicole. And because of my broken bone, I couldn't get down close to the river to take a sounding of the river to send down to the woman in Virginia. So she did it. And the minute they connected, they both got electrical currents up and down their body. Both of them. And then, there of the people who came to sit and listen to it, maybe half the people really connected with the East River and other people maybe didn't. But again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just listen.
Just listen. Yeah. Okay.
Well, nature can take care of everything, all our stupidity. Pollution, all of it. I mean, look how they found microbes now that can eat plastic, and there are other microbes that can eat oil. And
right.
I mean, nuclear takes an awful long time, but so I'm convinced that nature can do everything. I'm actually looking for a biochemist or a biophysicist who will work with me on inventing a water cleaning system. So if you know anybody, let me know.
Okay. Well, listeners, if you know anybody, DM us, let us know. Okay. I do know a few scientists in my network, so.
I'm told to cast a wide net.
Yes.
It will be a water cleaning system, probably also based on nano ditches, which does clean water, but like all the ditches of, straw or cardboard or just chopped up really fine. And but something about halts is super important, and that's the part that's not been really utilized.
Wait, say that part again. That's really important.
Pulse.
Like, yeah.
Other water depth has a pulse until the water gets too polluted, but then it can't really pulse. The pulse goes dormant or something, but and now all life has a pulse too. So how do we figure out to tune that together with some other things, like maybe artificial bubbles, which also help clean water, bubbling things, very intense bubbles. Like, how you have those in fish tanks, but much more intense than that.
Okay.
Nanoparticles and some kind of essential dynamism about the pulse of life. That I think we could clean up lakes and stuff pretty easily and cheap. So I need the scientists who want to.
Right. And without not doing anything with heat, because doesn't bubbling just anyway generate friction, which creates heat?
I don't know about that. I mean, to do a very compressed bubbling does take some kind of current.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's heat.
Okay.
But there's things I don't know about, but brainstorm and then model this.
Yeah. How do you find these grants? They're so specific.
No, Guggenheim isn't specific. You look it up. It's hard to get. It's hard to get. You can get it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not hear Guggenheim.
I mean, it took me years. I didn't know how. But then I figured it out. I went, I could have done this 40 years ago with my ideas.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I mean, just understanding your own power.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't take anything other than that to apply.
Well, yeah. I mean, if everybody understood their own power with an approach to love, and I mean love for themselves and love for others and Mother Earth, yes.
No, we wouldn't be in this situation.
We would not be in this situation. No. So much of it got this way, and what I think is based on fear and overcoming something instead of working with.
Our car companies invented the gasless car in the 70s. Other companies who wanted to keep, like whoever, Mobil, Exxon, bought the patents and it was put on a shelf.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's put them in a holding pattern because they're going to take our money.
No, don't let this out on there because we'll stop making the money we need.
Yes.
We don't need it. We'll stop, Like, I mean, an incredible example is Marin, California, which people saw was a bottleneck and should have public transportation in the 20s. And it was nixed by the powers that be because they all wanted roads and cars. And we put in the infrastructure in China for gas stations 30 years before they started buying cars. Because the car moguls wanted this huge market. These strategies are huge. They're huge. How do you take them apart? The only way to take it apart is to slowly gather enough people who aren't using it. Are we going to do that? I don't even know if I am.
Mobilize that. Ugh.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Really.
I still like to go places.
Yeah, I do. I do like being able. I just feel like I'm called to some places, so I feel like I've got to go there.
Well, that's having to drive your car 100 miles every day.
Oh yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. And I love working remotely, like at my house.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to be perfect.
No. Yeah, because everybody is on their journey.
It's not required.
Yeah.
Most have a good time.
Say it again. I'm sorry, I could not hear that.
Thing is to have a good time.
Yeah, if it's not fun, don't do it.
Well, some people have weird ideas of fun.
It is. That's what it boils down to. And if we could reconnect everybody back to their present, being much more present and being much more connected to their sense of place.
something.
Yeah, something. That's a start. That is a start. Well, hey, did you have other artworks that really inspired you that you look at as inspiration or you just think are cool?
Well, I knew Newton and Helen Harrison. We showed together in the 80s, and
Oh,
I knew them too.
oh,
I'm trying to think. I was a single mom.
yeah.
Didn't have
You're
much.
raising children.
I mean, I actually knew Judy Chicago, and I really have great admiration for how much she empowered women. She just, you can like or not like her artwork, but she cut the path. She cut the path.
I agree. Yeah.
Little people like Tilly Olsen, the writer, working class women who read, who I really, really liked. Nancy Spiro was a friend.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I like certain people, and I didn't need them to necessarily have an aesthetic I liked, although she did. But more, it's a sense that life is precious.
Mm.
Life is precious, and but I mean, I just think about it and how outrageous Judy could be in putting it out there, putting the vulva out there.
Yep.
And, people were offended. Women were offended. Why? That's you, that's you. And then that woman didn't stop.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. One of the congressmen, or she was on a political person, even back there in the 80s when she did the dinner party, was talking about it disgracefully on TV. And like, no, this can't happen. Because she was talking about women in the dinner party. I mean, a couple of the plates said the vulvas, but just all of that work just being weaponized right there.
Well, I like women to be really recognized for their intelligence.
Yes.
And sometimes I would object to being, this woman being recognized for her vulva, but that wasn't really the point.
No.
So
it's contributions.
So, and I was talking someone through why, men talk about their penises all the time. We talk about penises a lot, right? But no one talks about vulvas.
Right. No.
So it's just a whole part of the oppressive society. And so we get to be impressed by a really brilliant mind. Let's be champion women to also be our greatest thinkers.
Yes. Be our greatest thinkers. Well, I thank you for being such a good thinker and thinking about community and thinking about how we can work together.
I would love nothing more than have all different women working together to take charge of the living system, or just their selves, their backyards, or their community, or their city. I just think that's my biggest dream. I'm mentoring people, but they're far apart. And so, they have the conversation. You know what I tried today? I tried this. Well, that part worked, and the other part didn't work. You know what the team is I just built? I built this team. So instead of being siloed, and also thinking you're not a real artist if you step outside of a studio, and we fought hard to have a space of our own. So don't give up the space, but extend it.
Right.
So make it bigger in your mind.
Think bigger. Yes.
So, and the other thing is, if you're in a small city, it's very interesting to sometimes join the committees that are trying to figure out things like how to get water somewhere, but then understand that maybe pipes aren't the solution, but everybody's afraid of nature. So instead of having a pipe, you could have a creek that's open and it might flood, but you'll design it so it has places to flood and all that kind of stuff. And also how you can, if you're getting too much water, how you can provide places where water can go. Or if you're getting too little water, how you design with, for the water you get to nourish what you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's that supportive type of being creative. How can you support, if it wants to flood, like support the flood?
Yeah, well, water will find its way anyway, so.
Yeah. Water will find its balance.
Well, and also find, if there's a lot of it, it's going to figure out something. You think you put a wall up? Maybe not. Maybe that didn't help.
Right. Like the dam. Probably not.
Some dams are needed. So
yeah.
We have over 80,000 dams in the United States. So does Russia, so does China.
Is that right? Yeah, and I know in Washington, especially around salmon and native spiritual aspects, some of these dams they're quite the controversy.
Well, dams have destroyed salmon populations.
Yeah.
Take a long to get it back. Take the dam down.
Yeah.
Make it much more, let most of the water flow. And I mean, there's controversies over farmland and stuff like that, but compared to life, sorry.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I wish Washington can get you to work here somehow, some capacity. You'd started on one years ago, right?
Washington State,
yeah. Carnation or something.
I did it. Carnation's done.
Carnation is done.
It's done in 12 before then.
Oh. This is in your book.
Yep. Yeah. Well, also it's right there. I mean, it was a site that belonged to, Carnation Milk.
Yeah.
And they took down a forest to create the farmland. And then Carnation got bought by somebody else in Carnation, the company, whatever. And so this chunk of land was being returned to be natural. But at the same time, the town had only had a couple thousand people, and they wanted to grow. And to grow, they needed a wastewater treatment plant. So then, what was it called? Pacific Wastewater. They had a percent for art. And that's also a story. But I went and talked to everybody. I don't think most people do that. I think you get your money, you do your deal. But I talked to all the different people who were going to be engaged in the site. And I don't know, but I think the course of those conversations, even though I couldn't get them all together at one time, was that it was decided by the Pacific Wastewater to take out the protections, the dams in that area. One of the last productive salmon mills. So this whole site could be flooded except a few acres. So then I had to decide what I could do on a few acres. I had all these other ideas which kept being like I wanted to collaborate with the tribe, and I was told, no, you can't do that. And I think they might have thought it was appropriation, but the tribe would have done what they want. I just would have woven it into the story of the site.
Yeah, because it's honoring it's honoring more people in that place. It's not appropriation.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to take an idea and do that. And one of the ideas that just said it was just too expensive. I mean, they couldn't take care of it because there's no caretaker there. And they said that should go in a museum. And it was a really good idea. And so anyhow, it boiled down to what I ended up doing. Yeah, public art is, but I'm glad I got to do it.
Yeah, public art is hard, I think.
Hard, and mostly the budgets are too small. They actually added into this budget. I think my budget was 150 and 25. I'll never apply for anything under 100. Can't do anything. Sometimes 75 you could do something, but you really can't do anything. My budget is 35, 45, 50. You can't do anything. You can do a mural.
Yeah, agreed. A mural, 35,000. Yeah. I can host some events, 1 or 2 day events, but nothing with a legacy behind it. Yeah.
I decided a long time ago. I couldn't do that.
Look at you knowing your worth. Nope, can't do that. That's really great.
Well, I don't know. We all need to make a living.
Yeah. And if that's not where your energy is, that. That's half the battle.
I mean, so coming up, somebody I know organized a conference on the Mississippi River a couple of 5 years ago or something. So I'm going to lead and workshop and be their keynote speaker for something that's relatively small, like a learning. But on the other hand, right now, we're starting to spread it up through the watershed so that other places could begin. And also get the artists. The artists they're always looking for a budget that they can participate. But I did it differently, which is inviting artists to understand, this one artist and others to understand that become part of the larger structure. And then do something within funding, just the way the engineer or the water quality person or somebody would be funded. Make your funding be part of that too, and be a big team. So we're going to see how many things we can start. And the watershed's huge, huge. But we'll also model, I think, plant cleaning systems. And I mean, imagine if 100 artists who just decide to teach their community how to use plants to clean something.
Right. Yeah.
A budget. Or get together with, somebody that, if your community college or something, who'd be interested to do that with their students, and you could be the artist and you figure out how to, what part of it you really wanted to do. Name the plants, paint the things, plant the plants, show the system, and all the different things. People's imaginations not bigger. Joe.
Yeah, especially when you give them some elbow room to use their imagination.
So that would be really interesting.
Yeah. Wow. Well, good luck.
We'll see.
Let me know how I can help.
Well, if not, everybody go sit by the river and listen. Make everybody join. Invite people to join.
Okay. I will do that. Nothing would make me happier.
We can collect all the information and publish it, or have an online site where you can check who else is doing stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, when they started killing so many people, I put out something, I see souls rising from the rubble. And I asked people to respond to that statement. I haven't published it yet.
That sounds like a good project too.
Well, it was just to try and find No. And then just recently, I read somewhere that somebody saw the children who had been killed as just returning as people who could say, like, depends what you do, whether it's dead is dead or dead is a conversion.
Mm. That's heavy. Dead is dead or dead is conversion?
As a transformation.
Transformation. Right.
There's not good and bad. You don't take sides.
Oh, you don't have to take sides. Right. That's enough. We should do another podcast on that.
Okay. Maybe we just all have to sit by the water together.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Yes.
So,
absolutely. Let's go sit by the water together.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I choose my projects. They choose me. I just know that I'll go in for a number of years without knowing. So then I draw or I research. I have a lot of drawing. A lot of, 2D paperwork.
Mm-hmm. And do you keep those in an archive? Like, where do you have a flat file?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Reaching out to some other foundations for your legacy to keep those intact?
Yes, a foundation has given me money to archive. And I only halfway through, and a couple of other people are putting together a book on all my work. So, but I'm putting up my work. Some of my work is for sale on the site.
Okay, I'll make sure to leave your website in the show notes. Yeah,
you have it, right?
Yes. Yeah, that one I do have. Yep.
Yeah, and people can join my Keepers of the Waters. Just put your email in my site, and you automatically get notes. Sometimes consistently, and sometimes not at all.
Oh yeah, right. It's just when the time is right. At least you have one.
Well, when I broke my bones, I didn't post it. It was too.
You could do weekly updates. This thing is better. This thing is not better. The water told me this.
I put my knee and I put a smiley face on it.
I am well, right? I saw that.
Yeah, and then I changed it. I can't remember.
That was cute.
No, most people didn't think it was funny. Only a few people thought it was funny.
Especially now that I know more of the story, I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thank you. That one's fair.
The smiley face. Yeah.
The surgeon asked me, I stayed in California to have the surgery. And this incredible person who I hardly knew took care of me. And I would have had to go to an anonymous rehab center for a month.
Yeah.
Horrible. And but she's a water activist.
Oh, really?
Just stayed on that sofa. So.
I mean, the law of attraction back in action.
So that was wonderful. I mean, just such a blessing. Such a blessing.
Such a blessing. Well, I just think you're such a blessing. Thank you so much for spending time today.
I hope I didn't do too many. You can edit it, right?
Sure.
Take it more fierce lectures.
Yeah. No, I think those are awesome, actually. I mean, it's what you feel. I just think we need to lean more into that.
We do. We actually just all need to try to. It's hard. It's not easy. Yeah. Not easy to be as conscious as you can be. Like a dragonfly landed on my arm right here, and I had a conversation with him. And he moved his head and opened his mouth, stayed and stayed and stayed. And then it's like, do you have a message for me? And he flew away.
Oh, you guys, did you hear that? Just ask, do you have a message for me? That's so beautiful.
All around us is great beauty. And just to come out for it.
Yeah. No kidding. That's right. Bulldoze inside and take a good look and be present. Break down any of your barriers. Well, thank you so much. Hey, thank you so much for vibing with the female frequency today. If this episode or any other episode has helped transform or shift your perspective in any way, please tell me all about it. Tell me all about it in a review where you are listening to this podcast. It will totally help me out and it will help spread the word. If you are a creative looking for more support, this is what I do for a living. I work with creative entrepreneurs and culture makers by giving them roadmaps, making them money, growing their audience, essentially making the business side of art easy. In addition to the one-on-one work I do, I often host workshops, and you can find out about those on my website. Go to thefemalefrequency.com. So once again, that's www.thefemalefrequency.com. All right, y'all, until next time.